Hi and welcome to part 2 of my golf gift guide. This is where we look at presents over the £50 mark or $60, round about that area, and work up to dreamland material. First thing to talk about probably is clubs. Now you could go and look at something like that, TaylorMade Stealth 2, probably out of date by the time you watch this video. That's about £500 to buy. In theory you're being really generous buying somebody that, and they'd probably be gobsmacked if they didn't know it was coming. But this needs to be properly fitted to somebody. You can't really just buy these off the rack. People do, but they shouldn't. They should always go and try and test these and work out which one it is that they want, because they all come in different lofts and the shafts are different. So what you should do, and especially at Christmas time, it's not a bad idea, because all the new clubs come out probably in January, February. So you should buy them a voucher for a fitting at a local golf club or a golf centre, wherever it is, and they'll go and get fitted in a room like this. So I'll show you. So this is a kind of average fitting room that they would come into. They would get a voucher to come in here somewhere like this, all these different shafts, heads, all the rest of it, and then they would hit into the screen and the guy will tell them what the best club is for them. This is a really good way of doing it. Now that sort of present will vary in cost, or you might even get it as cheap as £30, but it could be up to anywhere near £70, that sort of thing. Even more than that probably in some places. But that is a good way to do it. So you could do a driver fitting and just do that, and you say, well, that's your present, and it's almost like you're giving them a go ahead just to go and buy whatever they want as well, which is sometimes not a nice thing. But if you're feeling extra generous, you could put, voucher in there for £500. That's, some people are that generous at Christmas and birthdays, depends what it is, could be a big birthday, a retirement thing, whatever it is, but that's a good way to do it. So driver fitting plus driver of your choice, up to a certain amount of money, or a certain amount of money towards it, that sort of thing. Could even just be a part payment. That would be a great present to get. Another present that I didn't mention in the last one was lessons, because, well, one lesson could be under £50, but people tend to get maybe a couple lessons, that sort of thing, so it can be, they'll spend maybe £100 on lessons, and that is another good present. So you'll get a voucher which will say you can take the lessons at any time within a 6-month period, it might even be longer than that. That's a good way to do it. And if you've listened to them talking about their game and they've got a particular area they keep moaning about, like say the putt, if I only could putt I'd be alright, we'll get them a lesson that is specifically to do with putting. If you go to a pro shop, they'll be able to do that. They'll be able to print something out that says that on it, or it could be chipping, it could be long game, whatever it is. Sometimes it's quite nice to actually have that specialised. Other times it's not. It might be that they decide what they want to do, and that's absolutely fine as well. But a golf lesson is always a good present to get somebody, unless you know for a fact that they think they know it all and they wouldn't want a lesson. This isn't in any order other than the order that it comes to me in my head, right? So that's not like number 1 and number 2 presents, or it's not number 10 and I'm working down to make you watch the whole video. I'm just doing it as I see it. Right, so a golf bag. Golf bags can be anything up to about £300, sometimes even more if you're buying a tour bag, but an average bag would cost, well, a bag like this, which is waterproof, would cost you about £250, so it's quite a lot of money. I would stay clear of golf bags if I was you, buying a blind present for somebody. This is an area where people get really quite particular, or they don't like pockets there, or they do like pockets here, or they don't want, the rain hood has to be a certain way, or the umbrella's got to be in a certain place because of what the trolley's like, or the bases has got to be a certain thing to fit their trolley, or whatever it is. There'll be things in the golfer's mind that they don't like with bags, and it's too much to ask for you to get that right. You know, I've done reviews on golf bags and thousands of people watch them because they want to know what the inside of that particular pocket looks like before they buy the bag online, and quite often people will go in and actually examine them with a microscope to see that they're all exactly as they want them. So I wouldn't do golf bags. A voucher for a golf bag, on the other hand, is a good idea. So if you sort of heard them talking about I need a new bag, or you look at it and it doesn't look very good, get them a voucher for a bag. You know, £200 or something like that would be a very, very good start for a bag. It would mean they could probably get a waterproof one if they wanted to, or a normal one which might only cost £150 or something like that. But that would be a better way of doing it than actually trying to buy the bag yourself. Incidentally, golf clubs, when I was talking about the fitting, that includes everything. So that includes wedges, wedges, putters, irons, everything. So even putters, you can't go buying putters. So if you look at two different putters there, I mean, this one's 249 and this one's 239. So these are quite expensive ones, but they do go up even quite a bit over this. So they're quite expensive to start with, and there are weird and wonderful designs that only the golfer will know if he likes. So you cannot choose a putter for somebody, even though you would think, well, surely I can buy a putter because they're all roughly the same sort of size and weight and length and everything else. They're not. They're different, and you can't do it. So you can get a voucher to buy a putter, or a voucher for a putter fitting or something like that. That would be a good way of doing that as well. So on to what I would consider one of the all-time best presents you could get someone, and that is a power trolley, especially if they don't have one, if they've never had one before. Now, some people still have the idea in their head that a power trolley is for old people, and it is not for old people. These are used by serious amateur golfers at 18, 19, even younger than that, years of age, to conserve energy and make sure they play their best golf and they're not getting tired out pushing a trolley or carrying a bag around. So this, I can assure you, is not just for old people. It is expensive. You know, this particular one here is going to be sort of £800–900. This one has a GPS in here. If you don't know what that is a thing which tells you the distance it is to the hole. So it tracks where you are in the course and tells you that you've got 150 yards to the second. So that's built into that. You can get ones without that don't cost as much. This one is an ultra compact one that folds up really small and is literally one of the best designs I've ever seen in my life. Power Caddy, Motor Caddy both make really good trolleys. There are other ones out there. They're two big ones that you can't go wrong with. Good after service, good backup, very reliable trolleys, very good designs. This one, as I say, if you're needing space, conserving space, is an absolute beauty. That is a pretty special present to get somebody, and if they don't know they're getting it, that would just knock them sideways. You could safely do this and not have to worry about it being so personalised to the golfer, because they'll be so amazed that you've actually done this that they won't think twice about the actual model that you've got. So that's a bit safer than buying a bag, and especially safer than buying golf clubs. But yeah, absolutely brilliant present to get. This sort of trolley, it looks almost the same, but it doesn't have a battery, it doesn't power itself, it doesn't go itself. This is just a push trolley, but this one folds down, similar size to the Power Caddy one I just showed you. These cost about £199, so because there's no battery, no power, it doesn't cost as much, but that's still quite a lot of money for a trolley. You can get trolleys that cost a lot less than that, but when you're buying a present for a serious golfer, somebody that plays a fair bit, you don't want to go too cheap with your golf gift. You've got to keep it mainstream brands and good quality stuff, and unfortunately that tends to cost a lot more. Motor Caddy, Power Caddy make push trolleys as well, which are really well designed, but there are quite a lot of other brands out there as well, like Big Macs and things like that, which are fine as well. So as long as you stick to, I hate to say it, but if it's reasonably expensive, you'll probably be alright with it, and it'll probably be seen as quite a good trolley by the person you're buying it for. Again, I don't think people are quite as picky about trolleys as they are about certain other things like bags and clubs themselves. So you can usually get away with this sort of present. It would be a reasonably impressive thing to get somebody. They'd be quite thankful for it. And again, not just if they haven't got a trolley, but if you're buying a new, shinier version of what they've already got. Next thing to talk about is shoes. Now, golf shoes, I think this is a decent present to get somebody. I think if you keep it fairly mainstream and don't go too wild with the colours, it's quite a good present to get. Stick to mainstream brands, Under Armour, Echo, FootJoy, that sort of thing, and you won't go wrong. And obviously the more expensive the better, I hate to say it. A pair of Echoes, for example, would be an unbelievable present to get somebody, especially if they've never had anything. You know for a fact they've never spent quite a lot on shoes. If you suddenly come in with a pair of these, then they're going to be quite impressed with that. But the caveat to that is if they're easy to return, because they've got to fit well. Although I've said it's a good present to get, if you've in any doubt and you're buying on the internet, I'd be careful, because that's a faff to send back and forth and get a new pair, and it's a bit of an annoyance for somebody to have to do. So if you can return them locally, and the person that you spoke to in the shop was absolutely fine with bringing them back and the person trying on different ones to get them right, then it's a good present to get, because they'll actually be quite pleased. Even if they try these on Christmas Day or their birthday and they're not quite right, you say, oh well, it's no problem, you can take them back and try them in the shop, and you can get anything you like. So it's quite a good way to do it. It's probably a better way than just buying a straight voucher. It's a wee bit more interesting. And finally, yeah, it probably is finally, onto clothing. Now, golf clothing obviously could go under £50 as well, no problem. A lot of the things, especially in the winter, which are trying to keep you warm, are going to cost a little bit more. So you've got a jacket like this, a padded, infrared, warm, lightweight jacket that would be, so that's £129. So that's quite a lot. And again, if it's local, if you can take it back and get the size changed, it's a good present. It's probably it's a bit more exciting than a voucher. But you are taking a bit of a punt on the sizing, because they're unfortunately all different, so you've got to be careful with that. But if you stick to mainstream brands, Under Armour, FootJoy, Sunderland, things like that, you don't want to get too snazzy with the design, because you don't know exactly what they'll feel comfortable wearing. Sometimes if somebody's got something too bright and flashy, they feel like they've got to be a really good player to actually wear that. So sometimes you've got to just tone it down a little bit and not go too wild, just in case they, oh, I'm going to stand out like a sore thumb here, and everyone's going to think, look at him with his fancy white and pink top. Keep it fairly simple and you won't go wrong with it. But you do have to be careful with size. So as I say, buy local. There's as good a reason as any if you're doing that. This will be the final one actually. No, it's not the last thing. No, I wanted to do putting mats before we got into the last thing. So let's have a look at this. So this is the perfect practice putting mat, which I got for the shop, which I think is really good. Putting mats are a good present to get. This one's about 120 quid, something like that. And I think you can just get it on Amazon and places like that. Once again, advertising something I don't actually sell. Really sort of sensible that is. So if you do get one of these, make sure it's a decent quality one. Don't have it that it's a cheap jack 20 quid one or 30 quid one or something. You need to spend a bit of money on this. I'll show you how this one works. It is really good. Obviously it's got lines on to try and keep you stroking a straight line, and different measurements and that sort of thing, so that's good. But the main thing is the fact that it comes back to you. This one you have to aim a little bit right with, because I've got it set up with a bit of a break on the carpet. It should come mostly all the way back to me now. It's probably on a slight uphill slope there, so it's struggling to get all the way back. It usually does get all the way back there and comes out there. So it is really well designed. Two in a row. Let's leave it there. And so now I'm about to tell you about something else that I've forgotten. Distance measuring devices, basically. So this is all made by ShotScope, but there's lots of other brands out there as well that do these. So you've got laser, so that's pointing something at the flag and telling you how far anything is, or a hill or whatever it is. These are really quite impressive things to have. So even for somebody who doesn't think they're good enough to have stuff like this, just still will like using it, and they'll still think it's a good present. They'll be really, really impressed. I mean, they're quite expensive. That was a fairly basic one there, and it's £179, but you can get ones with GPS built into them as well, so it's going up to a satellite telling you how far it is to the green, as well as being able to point at an exact object. So that's another one there. What's that? £149. Just slightly different levels of waterproofness and laser design. Lots of these types of companies also make GPS only devices as well. So this is a watch which connects to satellites, knows where you are. You plug in, type in East Links, North Berwick, and it will come up with that course, and you press play golf, and it knows you're on the first, you walk to the first tee, it knows you're on the first tee, it knows how far you've walked up the first fairway, it knows how far away the green is, that sort of thing. These are used by thousands and thousands of golfers, millions I would think actually, worldwide. They might already have something like this. So if somebody doesn't, if they're fairly new to golf, they might not have one of these. And even if they're not at a really high standard, this can actually still be useful. So it'll still be a useful thing to start to get used to how far you hit your best shots. And that one there is just a little square, so that some people don't like wearing a watch. That can sort of magnetically clip to your bag, or you can put it in your pocket, whatever you want to do. Watches are really popular. It doesn't have to be that, but you can also get lasers which have that with it. So it will magnetize onto the back of the laser, and you'll have the best of both worlds. Watches, you're looking at £129 and £119 for something like that. So that's the least expensive, the one that isn't the watch. These are really good presents. The only thing you could get wrong with this is if they already had one. That's why I said you need to do a little bit of research to get this right. Okay, I think that'll do us because I don't want to go on and on and on. I've probably missed loads of different things out, but that is a good overall picture of bigger ticket items in relation to golf and how you should buy those. Hopefully it's answered some of your questions. If you've got any further questions, put them in the comments and I'll get back to you. If you could subscribe, that'd be really great. And thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.